Hello, in this video I'm going to go over a couple of menu adjustments that I like to do for the game to make things a little bit more visually appealing. In my opinion, I think they're helpful. So let's get into it. These are all options settings that mostly I don't believe add-ons really do anything with this. So I'm going to show you a couple of things what you can do. Um, the combat. You can make the friendly stuff in your group look green, and you can make it look really bright. You can change the color to be whatever you want. If you want it to be yellow, you can make it yellow. If you want it to make it blue, you just change it to whatever color you want. I like green because it shows up really well. And then you can test what it looks like. Makes my arrow look green there, as you can see. This goes for like ground dots and stuff. So let's see what else. You can make enemy colors. Not really an enemy color to make here, but you can change it to whatever color you want. I wouldn't recommend red because that's a little bit harder to see. I think the pink shows up really well. And then also make sure that it's always all the way up on the brightness so you can see it. Prevent attacking innocents. This will help you not get as many bounties. Make sure this is selected to on so you don't accidentally attack people in towns and then you get a massive bounty if you do it several times. Um, quick cast ground abilities. I would put this as on. And what that does is when you're working with a ground ability, instead of having the aim function, um, let me just slot a skill really quickly here that I know will cause this to. Okay, so with this um, selected like it is, it's just going to cast it right away when I hit the button. Okay, if you change this to where it's automatic, now when you press the button, you have to aim it. And I can't stand that. I just want to be able to hit the button once and have it fire. So I would recommend going into your gameplay and making sure this is on. If you have it off, it's also an aiming situation. So make sure that it's on and it will immediately cast. This setting here deals with if you have companions leveled up to 20, they can use an ultimate. Whether or not you want them to use it whenever they get it, or you can switch it off and then they'll use it when you command them to. If you want to make it this setting, then you have to click both your joysticks in for them to use it. I just leave this on because they're really not that game breaking of ultimates, and so I just figure just have them use it when you're doing it. I really don't like the auto loot, so I leave that off. Prevent stealing placed items. This is really huge when you're turning in crafting writs or something like that. There's always some little item next to an NPC or a guild trader that when you're trying to talk to them, and then you get a stolen item, and then you can get a bounty for that. Make sure you have this on so that prevents most of the time. You can still steal stuff that is still uh, you are still capable of stealing, but you really have to hit the button a couple of times in order to do it. So I would make sure that you have this selected on. Automatically add stuff to your crafting bag if you're an ESO Plus member. If you pick up any kind of trait material or anything like that, instead of going into your inventory, it automatically just goes straight into your crafting bag. I'm pretty sure this is defaulted to on, but if it's not, this is a helpful tool to keep your inventory under control. Um, loot history, when you pick up stuff, this just flashes on the bottom of your screen. What you picked up, not a huge thing there in my opinion. Um, interface. there is it's nameplates actually, I think. This basically will tell you uh, what kind of enemies there are that you're facing, indicators. This is the part I was trying to get to here. The target markers. These are the little markers that a lot of times you'll use in trials, and you can put over people's heads, like the pickle, and you can see how small it is here. If you go into options and go into nameplates and come all the way down where it says indicators, and then come right down to here, you can either make them really big like this, so they're really big. Now this only affects your vision. It doesn't change how it looks for other people. This is just for your own use. However, I would recommend keeping this on the small side, especially if you're in Sanity's Edge for the Chimera boss with the puzzle rooms. It makes it really hard to see the constellations above your head if you've got this target marker really big. Um, you can still see other people's markers pretty easily. I would keep them pretty small if you can manage that. Um, that's a good thing to do. Uh, let's see here. I don't think there's very much profanity filter. I like to keep this off because sometimes the filter doesn't quite know or get it right. If somebody's cussing, I'm an adult. I'm not offended by cuss words. So um, I turn this off because I'd rather be able to read what people are writing, and then uh, I can make the choice of whether or not I want to read something. I don't want anything controlled for me in that manner. Um, this right here, I like to leave the auto declines for duels and Tales of Tribute. I don't really participate in either one of those, so I really don't want people pestering me with that. So um, then you can change the chat colors for your different guilds if you want to, so that if somebody is chatting, you can kind of really quickly see what guild it's from, and it helps kind of track conversations as well, in my opinion. If you've got a lot of different guilds rattling off a bunch of different stuff, sometimes it can be hard to track and see what conversation goes with what. And if you change the colors to match a certain color for each guild, then it makes it a little easier to follow. Um, if somebody's, for example, doing a in guild uh, auction, and then somebody else is just having a conversation about something in one guild, and then in another guild they're trying to fill for a trial, and all that's going on, and you've got every guild set to the same color. It can be really confusing as to which guild you need to reply to for which conversation and all that. So I would recommend changing your colors on your guild chat to make them look different, um, just so you can differentiate between those. Combat. This is really common in trials. A recommendation to dealing with um, being able to tell if you've got mechanics on you. For example, the Tideborn Talaria in Dreadsail Reef bubbles is oftentimes a very troubling mechanic for groups. One of the easiest ways to see if you've got a mechanic on you, if you're cursed or anything like that, is to make sure you're limiting what kind of buffs are on your bar. And how you can easily do that is go to the very bottom here and turn off your permanent buffs. That's so, like, for example, if you were wearing the Oakensoul ring, um, I don't remember if I have one of those in my inventory. I think I can go grab it real quick though. Yep, there's one right there. So I will put the Oakensoul ring on instead really quickly. So as you can see, I don't have any buffs listed except for my food buff because that's not a permanent buff. It runs out in 2 hours. So if you go into your options, into your combat to the very bottom, and you turn this back on, then you can see all these buffs are listed from the Oakensoul ring. Oh man. So when you get into trials and you get other buffs going, your buff line is going to be insanely long and harder to track to see when you've got a mechanic on you. Well, if you go in here and you turn off the permanent buffs, I like to just do that one because then you can at least track your food buff and know when that's going to run out. A lot of times people will recommend switching this off. I don't really like that one because then it takes your food buff off and then you can't see that. I like to leave this food buff up so you can actually see how long your food is on. You are going to get a couple other buffs in a trial, such as like a major courage buff or something like that, but it's nowhere near if you leave your permanent buffs on. This is much more manageable, and it's still pretty easy to see the buffs that you need to see and all of that. If you are healing, I would I would make sure you got overheals on so you can track whether or not you're proccing SPC. Um, all these I usually keep on because I like to see what kind of damage I'm doing. There's not a whole lot of intricate stuff here. I like to switch on most of the damage output stuff to make sure that you can see all of that. This stuff here, I don't know that this is really adequate, or I should say valid. Once you're using the, as you can see, I'm using the regular bar right now, but if I go into the add-ons, the fancy bar is disabled right now for some reason. I'll have to look into that. Um, oh, it's because I'm wearing the Oakensoul ring, I believe. So I'll put the Ring of the Wild Hunt back on. This is just my farming run around build. So there, now you can see this is the fancy bar. So a lot of the functions for the top portion here probably don't apply as much when you can turn the ultimate numbers off and then it'll show just those numbers from the add-on. But most of those settings are probably negated with having the fancy bar add-on installed now, so those aren't as prominent. Um, this right here can change a lot of functions here. Aim assist, intensity, um, if you want stuff narrated or not. That's kind of probably more for like role playing or something like that. Um, automatic quest tracking. This is one that's really huge for me. A while back, I believe it was sometime last year or the year before, they did an update where when you picked up quests, it no longer automatically tracked. And so the quest tracker, if you go into options and you go into interface and you come all the way down to automatic quest tracker, turn this on. And what this does is whenever you pick up a quest, that is the one that automatically tracks for you on your screen. So if you have a quest that you want to track and you go to pick something else up, you're going to have to remember which quest that was, go into your journal, your quest, and then re-track that one instead. Um, but I like to have the last quest that I picked up so it's the one that is active. If you go to a trial, you get the trial quest on, or if you're in a dungeon, you get that dungeon quest active. If you got a wrong quest up, a lot of times you can be directed in the wrong area because you've got an incorrect quest going, and you can get turned around real easy. I've done it 100 times, if not more than that. But that's going to be it for this video. Those are a couple of the hacks that I do. Well, not really hacks, but menu settings that I do on my game that I think were a little bit helpful. Oh, I guess I'll do one more little bonus thing. how to move your camera. This isn't really a menu setting, but some people don't know how to do this, so I'll cover it. Um, as you can see, I've got my camera pretty far back on my display. I prefer this because then I can see if anything's coming up behind me or not. Um, this makes it a lot easier. When I first started playing the game, for example, it kind of defaults to about this kind of view. And for me, this is really difficult to play the game because you cannot see anybody coming up behind you, hitting you or whatever. I can't tell you how many times I got killed by stuff I didn't even know was there because I was this close and I didn't know how to change it. It makes everything look really cool up close, and it's not quite first person like that, but how you adjust your camera. If you take your directional pad and hold the down button, and then on your right stick, don't ever let off your directional pad while I'm talking about this. You take your right joystick and you move it down, and that will back your camera up, and it'll go back that far. If you want to zoom it back in, you hold the directional down button, and then you press up on the right stick. And if you do it long enough, it'll go right into first person mode. And then this is the closest you can be without being in first person mode. So when I first started playing this game, this was pretty much the view I had for quite a while until I figured out. And I used to watch a lot of videos on YouTube going, man, the camera is so far back on these, it must be a PC setting. And no, it's not. It's just nobody really covers this that much. So there you go. There's my little last minute little tie in there. So if you liked this video or you thought it was helpful or you enjoyed it, you're interested in other stuff that I do, check out my YouTube channel. Go onto my channel and then go down into my uh, created playlists. I have several different categories there, from PvE, PvP, overland stuff, tanks, healers, DPS, all kinds of things. Everything is separated by subject, so if you're into just one of those things, you can go into that playlist and then see what I've covered on that subject, or if you want to just bounce around all of them, check them all out. Thanks for everybody that's been watching my stuff. I appreciate it a lot. All the comments and likes and everything. I'm really, really blown away by some of the performance on some of these videos. I never thought it would be um, this this watched so far. So I appreciate it all. Thank you very much. I'll see you in another video. Bye.